Every child was warned never to open the last room in grandmother's house, but curiosity is stronger than fear. The children had spent many holidays in their grandmother's old village house. The place was quiet, surrounded by tall trees and the sound of crickets at night. But there was always one thing that made them uneasy. At the end of the hallway stood a single wooden door. Old, scratched, always locked. Whenever they asked
Look at
about
this
it,
old
their
key.
grandmother would
It's
simply
glowing in the
say in a
lantern
calm
light.
voice,
I found the secret door.
"Just
Let's
stay
find out."
away from that room." She never explained why, and that made the children even more curious.
I think I
One
saw something.
hot afternoon,
What was
their
it?
grandmother
I don't
left
know,
for
but
the
it's
market.
close.
The house became quiet except for the slow ticking of the wall clock. That was when the youngest child noticed something. A small, rusty key sitting on the table beside grandmother's lantern. The children stared at it. No one spoke for a moment. Finally, one of them whispered, "Maybe it's the key." Their hearts began to race. Slowly, they walked down the narrow hallway toward the forbidden door. The wooden floor creaked beneath their feet. The key slid into the lock with a soft click. For a moment, no one moved. Then the door slowly creaked open. Inside, the room was darker than the rest of the house. The lantern light revealed shelves covering the walls from floor to ceiling. And on those shelves were hundreds of glass jars, dusty, old, and tightly sealed. The children stepped inside. At first, it seemed quiet.
I told you
Then
never to
they
open
heard
that
it.
door. Now look at what you've
Soft
done.
Whispers, tiny voices. The whispers were coming from inside the jars. Some jars contained swirling shadows. Others held faint shapes that looked like tiny faces pressing against the glass. One jar began to shake slightly. A faint voice whispered, the children froze. Another jar rattled, then another. Suddenly, they heard something else. Breathing. Slow, heavy breathing. But it wasn't coming from the jars. It was coming from the wall behind them. The children turned slowly. The wall was cracked and bulging slightly, as if something large was pressing against it from the other side. Then came a slow knock. 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 Dust fell from the wall. Knock. The lantern flickered. Then a voice whispered from inside the wall. Their names, one by one. The children screamed and ran out of the room, slamming the door behind them. Their hands shook as they forced the key back into the lock. When their grandmother returned that evening, she said nothing. She walked quietly to the end of the hallway, picked up the key, and locked the door again. But this time, she added a heavy chain around the handle. As she stood there in silence, the children heard it again, from behind the door. A louder knock. 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 Their grandmother sighed softly and whispered, "Be quiet in there. They are not ready for you yet."